Thank you, Fiona and Jed, and thank you, comrades, for a very interesting and stimulating discussion. It's a pity the time became so compressed. We have concluded all of the business we were scheduled to deal with in the Standing Orders Report number 1. All of those seeking to be heard have been accommodated, albeit a bit haphazardly from time to time. We have dealt with our business, we have taken our decisions, and we now come to the conclusion of our conference. And it falls to me to conclude the conference, and I just want to say one or two things. The first is that, as we all know in this room, we emerged from our participation in the last government against the background of the biggest economic collapse in any developed country in the world, in which we were outnumbered by more than 2 to 1 by probably the most right-wing party in the country, although it's hard to distinguish between the two big ones as to who should have that accolade, and against a background in which the economy was in the hands of the Troika, and at the outset our budget deficit was higher than any other country in the Eurozone, higher even than Greece. And we emerged from that quite mauled, not just in terms of electoral support, but in terms, I think, of our self-confidence. And I think it's fair to say that a great many of us doubted ourselves and doubted whether we were in an organisation that was still true to the values which it had been founded to serve. And we stayed. But it's important to recognise that we didn't stay for reasons of nostalgia, or reasons, as would be the case in relation to myself, that it was too late to go anywhere else. We didn't stay in the way that people stick with an old football club, even though it's not winning anything anymore, out of a kind of a sense of loyalty that is almost irrational. And I'm very clear myself, absolutely clear, as I have been throughout the whole dreadful experience. I am absolutely clear as to the reasons why I stayed. And I stayed for these 3 reasons. I stayed because our party, Connolly's party, has been to the forefront of every single incremental step which was achieved in the struggle for equality since 1912 on this island. And I stayed, notwithstanding the fact that it's treated cynically. I stayed because every single time, extending back to the general election of 1918, when our party was forced to make the choice between its own electoral interests and the interests of the people of this country, every single time bar none, we opted for the interests of the people of this country. And actually, there is no other party that can truthfully say that. There are some of them, to be fair, who have placed the interests of the people first from time to time, and some of them who have never, ever done it, and never, ever will, by the way. And the third reason why I stayed was because I recognised, given my training, over 44 years now approaching in the trades union movement, that if we opt, every time we meet obstacles, and every time we have to make very hard choices, and every time we make mistakes, and every time it's hot and people are shouting at us, and worse, if we opt every single time to run off and declare our independence or form a new party, untainted by the compromises that we had to make, well, then we'll never, ever achieve anything for the people we were founded to serve. Because fragmentation on the left, and the crucial lesson of history, is that fragmentation on the left allowed the Nazis in Germany in 1933. And it allowed them in, the fascists, in Brazil last week. And we cannot afford fragmentation. Now, there was I think, a rather naive, no criticism of anyone, attempt immediately after the debacle of the last election to launch a rebuild. That's not the way history unfolds. Because before you rebuild, you have to rediscover your soul, your confidence, your self-belief, and more importantly, your belief in the comrades around you. And that takes time. That takes time. And I think that this conference, not just because I chaired it, by the way, so successfully, I think that this conference represents the critical moment of transition, the critical watershed in the journey to rediscover our souls. And I think that that was signalled in the speech delivered by Brendan Howlin, our party leader, last night. I have attended every single conference, every single one, of this party since Wexford in 1976. And I can't remember a better speech, even the ones delivered by Frank Kluski. I can't remember a better speech than the speech delivered by Comrade Brendan Howlin here last night. And I think it signals the moment we rediscovered our soul. It's not going to reflect, by the way, in the Red Sea poll. That's not yet what it's about. That's not yet what it's about. But I learned long, long ago, and I've held many positions of leadership in our movement, from when I was a shop steward at 18 years of age. I learned long, long ago that the decisive ingredient in the formulation and execution of a political strategy or an industrial strategy in any crisis or over any period of crisis or over any period at all is the absolute confidence, the absolute belief that we are correct. And I believe that in the context of the challenge that presents and the opportunities that are opening up, as we approach the centenary of the democratic programme upon which the War of Independence was fought and won, I believe that we in Connolly's party are correct. And I look forward, comrades, to working with you every day of the year which lies ahead between now and our next conference, in doing what we were founded to do, to win for working people and to realise the possibility of an egalitarian future. And I look forward to doing it every day, and I know that you will too. It only remains for me, comrades, now to discharge a few rudimentary but important functions. I want to extend on behalf of all of us our deepest appreciation and thanks to the staff of the hotel here who provided excellent service. I want equally to thank the security staff here who protected us not just from others but from ourselves all over the weekend. I want to thank our own stewards who discharged all their various roles. I want to thank the Conference Organisation Committee. I want to thank all the Labour Party staff who laboured here throughout. All, incidentally, trade union members, by the way. All of them. I want to thank the returning officer and the volunteers who conducted and oversaw the count. I want to thank Dermot Lacey and the tellers. You didn't have much to do, Dermot, but you were there to do it. I want to thank Fionnuala Richardson, if she's still here, Fionnuala, the Chair of Standing Orders, and the members of the Standing Orders Committee. And I don't know, Fionnuala, how many years you're doing Chair of Standing Orders. I can't remember. Don't say. But I want to thank you and your comrades most sincerely, steering me through another intrepid weekend. I want to thank all the members who attended here, and all the observers who attended here, and all those who spoke and contributed. And I want again to apologise to those who I treated rather harshly. Don't blame me, blame that bloody machine there. And I want to thank the party spokespersons who addressed us and responded to the various debates and so on. And I want to thank as well Brian McDowell, the General Secretary, who's had the very tough job of pulling it all together. And incidentally, by the way, Brian and I probably weren't the best of friends in the past. We still aren't. We don't agree on everything. But there are not too many people, very, very few, in the history of our movement, in fact probably no one, who was stuck with the task that Brian was stuck with after the last general election. And I want to say, notwithstanding some differences we have, I want to acknowledge the way he has discharged his entire role as General Secretary through that very difficult period. And I want to thank all the people I've forgotten to thank. Because there's always someone who approaches you and said, "What about me?" So they're all covered in that. And now, as I draw our conference to a close, I want to invite Councillor Rob O'Donoghue, who hails from...
Sorry, Jack, could I, on behalf of the people who are left here, thank you for an excellent chairing.
Thank you. Thank you. Those of you who are here next year will understand if one delegate is allowed a few minutes extra. That was a very skillful intervention, Jerry. Thank you very much. But now it falls to me to conclude, to draw the conference to a close. And in doing so, as I said, I want to call on Councillor Rob O'Donoghue, who hails from the Fingal constituency and the electoral area of Lusk and Rush. They produce very good people there, I can tell you. Where we have held our seat for longer than I can remember. And Rob now holds that seat, and I'm delighted that it has fallen to somebody of Rob's integrity and strength of character to continue a tradition that extends back for a very, very long time. Let's stand for the red flag, comrades. I declare the conference closed. Rob.
Always an unenviable position following himself. But I'll give it a go. Sure, the words are in the book, or in the standing orders. Thank you, everybody, for making this a brilliant conference. Sure, we'll plough on with this. Right. The people's flag is deepest red. It sheltered oft our martyr dead. And ere the limbs grew stiff and cold, our heart's blood dyed its every fold. So raise the scarlet standard high, beneath its shade we live and die. Though cowards cringe and traitors sneer, we'll keep the red flag flying here. Look round, the Frenchman loves his phrase, the sturdy German sings its praise. In Moscow vaults its hymns are sung, Chicago swells the surging throng. So raise the scarlet standard high, beneath its fame we live and die. Though cowards flinch and traitors sneer, we'll keep the red flag flying here. It waved above our infant might, when all ahead seemed dark as night. It witnessed many a deed and vow, we must not change its colour now. So wave the scarlet standard high, beneath its shade we live and die. Though cowards cringe and traitors sneer, we'll keep the red flag flying here. It suits today the meek and base, whose minds are filled with pelf and place, to cringe before the rich man's frown and haul the sacred emblem down. So wave the scarlet standard high, beneath its shade we live and die. Though cowards cringe and traitors sneer, we'll keep the red flag flying here. It well recalls the triumphs past, it gives a hope of peace at last. The banner bright, the symbol plain, of human right and human gain. So raise the starlit standard high, beneath its shade we live and die. Though cowards cringe and traitors sneer, we'll keep the red flag flying here. With heads uncovered swear we all to bear it onwards till we fall. Come dungeons dark or gallows grim, this song will be our fighting hymn.
So raise the starlit standard high, beneath its shade we live and die. Though cowards cringe and traitors sneer, we'll keep the red flag flying here. Closest to X Factor I'm ever going to get. Thank you guys. Thanks, Jack.